Welcome to the Addiction Mindset Recovery Coaching YouTube channel. My name's Dr. Frank, and in a past life, I struggled with addictions to nicotine, THC, and adult media content. After going on sobriety for about 4 years now or so, I've realized that there's many similarities between getting sober and staying sober as to investing in the stock market, a hobby of mine that I've picked up since I quit all those drugs. And in today's video, I'm going to explain these 10 similarities between getting sober and your recovery process as to investing in stocks. Similarity number one is the only guarantee in the stock market is that there's going to be highs and there's going to be lows. Stock prices are going to go up and stock prices are going to go down. Anyone who tells you otherwise, I would recommend you run away from them as fast as you can. And I say this is similar to addiction recovery and quitting drugs because along the course of the next week, next few months, next year into your sobriety process, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. You're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. This is the only guarantee that I can make you about your sobriety and recovery from whatever it is you're quitting. Weed, alcohol, adult media content, opioids. Good days and bad days lie ahead of you. That I can promise you. Similarity number two between quitting drugs and the stock market is that patience is key and long-term rewards usually aren't seen in the first few weeks, the first few months. They usually come along after the first year, after the first 2 years, after the first 3 years. Think about some of the initial investors in Bitcoin when a Bitcoin was less than $1. When it hit $1, a lot of people sold Bitcoin. They never thought it was going to go beyond that. Think about the people who held on to Bitcoin well past $1. Now I think it trades at like 50 grand a pop per coin, right? The people with patience, the people who held were rewarded. And I think that's so important because when it comes to sobriety and recovery, a lot of the first year is kind of a roller coaster ride. I didn't start my YouTube channel until 2.5, 3 years into my sobriety from weed and nicotine and all these other things that I was doing. I wasn't rewarded for my hard work until much later on. And I think so many people get frustrated in the early sobriety and recovery process because it's like, we were addicted to drugs. So we're used to that instant gratification, that instant turnaround. And if we can learn anything from stocks, some of the people who reap the most benefits are the people who hold for the longest duration of time, assuming they had a good investment to start with. Similarity number three between stocks and quitting drugs would be invest into something that you believe in. If I'm going to go buy a stock, I'm going to do research on that company, and I'm essentially going to get sold on purchasing a portion or rights to a small percentage of that company, right? Quitting drugs is actually no different. What you're doing when you quit an addiction is you're making an investment into yourself. You're making an investment into you. So this is where it gets a little tricky because here you are, you have these new goals, you have these new ambitions, but you have to sell yourself on you. You have to sell yourself that right now, while you're at a low point in your life, your future looks bright. Your future looks promising. So this is where I encourage people during their addiction recovery process to figure out what are the good quality traits that you have? What are the skills that you have? What things can you work on better and more efficiently by quitting smoking weed, quitting drinking alcohol, quitting watching pornography? Make an investment into yourself because you believe in yourself. And a little bonus tip on this one, most things in life, most job professions involve some level of sales. Most people who are successful are truly, at the end of the day, very good salespeople. And if you can't sell yourself on investing in yourself, I think it's going to be very, very hard to eventually sell someone else on whatever it is you're trying to sell them. So just something to keep in mind if you're working in that business realm. Similarity number 4 between investing in stocks and quitting drugs would be the actions you take today, the investments you take today are going to impact how you live tomorrow. And what you should really be doing is trying to make calculated, well thought out decisions that are going to help predict a better outcome future for yourself. So, for example, if I had continued smoking weed and I was suffering from health consequences such as Cannabinoid Hyperemesis Syndrome, if I had kept chewing tobacco and increasing my risk of potentially developing a cancer or whatever it may be, that's setting myself up for a pretty lousy future from a mental health and physical health standpoint. But if I started to take time and invest into exercise and self-help books and talk therapy and coaching for my businesses, I'm predicting a better future for myself. I'm setting myself up for success. Stocks are really no different. The investments that you make today are ideally setting yourself up for a good retirement, for a better tomorrow for you and your family. The decisions you make today in your recovery and sobriety process are going to impact how you feel tomorrow, how you feel a month from now, how you feel a year from now. So I really want you to take into consideration each and every decision that you make along this journey. Similarity number 5 between quitting smoking weed and investing in stocks would be don't bail when the road gets rocky. So a lot of times what people will do is when stocks start to dip, most people will actually start to sell off. And the big boys, the smart people who have faith in that stock, they'll actually accumulate more of it. Don't bail too early on yourself. If you're just starting quitting smoking weed or quitting smoking cigarettes or quitting vaping and you're having a rough time right now, it's a rough start to things, don't worry. That's okay. Remember, you're not worried about how you feel a week or 2 weeks from now. You're worried about what your future looks like a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Don't bail when the road gets rocky. Not bailing when things get rocky brings me right into tip number 6. If you do bail and you do decide to sell a little too prematurely or early, this would be equivalent to what I would call a relapse. Now look, you might have made some gains along the way. You might have made some progress, but then you sold that stock a little early, you didn't hold on long enough, and now the stock price continues to climb. Listen, just because you messed up doesn't mean you threw away that initial investment. Heck, you might have made some initial profits, and it's never too late to get back in. Well, maybe in the stock world it's too late sometimes, but in your recovery process, it's never too late to get right back on that horse. Each and every waking moment presents you with another opportunity to do 1% better today than you did yesterday. So never let a lapse in your sobriety or a lapse in your recovery be a complete setback. Because if investors viewed this way, if they bailed every time they took a loss, or if they said, screw it, I'm not investing anymore ever again, we wouldn't have people like Warren Buffett and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all these incredible entrepreneurs out there. Just because you bailed maybe when times got rocky doesn't mean tomorrow does not present you with a new opportunity for success. Similarity number 7 between quitting drugs and the stock market would be in stocks. The ideal thing to do is to buy low and sell high. So you buy the stock for a cheaper price and then you sell it for a profit. This is really tricky though, because this goes against human psychology. When you're watching your stock price decrease, when you're watching a loss of money occurring, it's really, really hard to say to yourself, oh, I believe in PayPal. I believe in Callaway Golf. I'm going to invest more money into this stock, even though it's going down, or even though it's been on a downtrend, because I predict the future it's going to go up, and that's where I'm going to make profit. It's really hard to invest your time and your money into something that seems like it's failing on the outside. So human psychology, what occurs is most people buy high, right? When people are investing in a stock and you see the price pumping, everyone wants in. Everyone wants to throw money at it. And then when it starts to drop, everyone says, wait a minute, I'm going to pull my money out. Addiction recovery is no different. If you're early on in your sobriety process, chances are you're at a low point right now. Now is the time that you should invest in yourself. Now is the time that you need to invest in yourself, because that's going to set you up to eventually sell high later on in life. That's going to tee you off for a better future. And I get it. It's hard to invest in yourself when you're feeling down, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling depressed. That's hard. But that's what sets successful people apart from unsuccessful people and their addiction recovery processes. We're constantly investing in ourselves, guys. And that's what this channel is really all about. Tip number 8, it takes balls. People who do well in stocks, like take Elon Musk, take Warren Buffett. I don't know. There's a million people that we could probably think of who do well in stocks. They have balls. They're putting their money where their mouth is. And wait, sounds a little sus. I think you guys get my point though. It takes guts to invest in something that maybe seems like it's going to be a failure. It takes guts to come back and try again and again and again, even after running into a bunch of hiccups along the way. So I would just encourage you guys, be tough. I know you got grit. I know you've pushed yourself through this addiction day in and day out. You have endurance. You have persistence. You have all the traits you need to have balls, okay? I just need you guys to use these traits towards building a better future for yourself instead of just destroying yourself. Tip number 9, take profits along the way. Most people in stocks will tell you, especially if you get into like the cryptocurrency stuff, take profits when times are good. Not all of them, don't drain your account, but you want to celebrate the little wins. You want to taste that success that you've earned for your investing. Addiction recovery is no different. So many people start their recovery process and they're like, oh, I didn't accomplish this yet, or I'm not here with this yet. Well, you know what? Maybe today you didn't use drugs. Maybe today you took a shower, cleaned your room. Maybe today you got a job promotion. Maybe today you went on that first date to pursue a new relationship. Celebrate the little wins along the way, because when the rough times come, you're going to be able to look back and say, hey, even though this is hard, even though I'm facing challenges, I have been taking profits. I have been celebrating the little wins, and I am seeing that overall upward trend. Which brings me into my last tip, tip number 10, why stocks are similar to quitting drugs. You want to do your best to diversify. If you want to make those bad days not so bad in your addiction recovery process, have more than one support group. Call our offices here. Work with us one-on-one at Addiction Mindset Recovery Coaching. Have friends supporting you. Have family supporting you. Do AA, NA, MA, whatever it is that works for you. And diversify your attention and your time into multiple things. Put time into working out. Put time into developing your career. Put time into your relationships. Put time into your mental health. Put time into your physical health. This is so important when you're quitting an addiction, because if all your time is focused on working out and that's your only tool for coping and sobriety and recovery, if you get in a car accident and you can't work out, everything's going to fall apart. It's going to be devastating. That would be like having all of your money in one stock and that one stock crashing. So make sure along the way of your addiction recovery process, you diversify the things and the people that you're putting your time and your energy into. That way, if one of those things gets messed up, it's not going to be as much of a blow. The same way that successful investors diversify their stock portfolios. They hold many, many different stocks of many different companies. And that way, if one company tanks, it's not that bad. It doesn't crash their whole portfolio. Addiction recovery is no different. And hey, who knows? You might strike gold in one of the areas that you've diversified into. The more fish lines you got out in the water, the greater your chances of actually catching a fish. Addiction recovery is no different, guys. Why don't you follow me into the next video where I talk about the 8 levels of sobriety when you're quitting weed, but really this video can apply to any drug. So I'll see you guys there.